What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here, back with another video, back with Dr. Mike Israetel. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Another day, we've been just slamming out the content, your YouTube channel, Mike. People should be subscribed. If they're not, you put out excellent information. If your goal is only to get bigger, you said the following, okay? The RP method, so the Renaissance periodization method, can be simplified as use good technique, of course, and try to get stronger for repetitions over time. Then you said, complexities exist, but fundamentals are rarely complex. I loved it. But why did you phrase it that way? So use good technique, we got it. But for hypertrophy, try to get stronger for repetitions over time. What's that all about?
There are a few things going on. Maybe about three, maybe a few more.
Sure.
So the first one is the technique part.
Yep.
It's easy to lift more weight over time if you let your technique get sloppy, and then you're just number chasing. But if we look at proper hypertrophy technique from the lens of what is it for, it is to stimulate the target muscle as much as possible and cause as little joint and connective tissue stress and systemic fatigue as possible. That's how we designed what it means to have good technique. And as long as we are constantly refining or constantly sticking to good technique, we don't have to worry about our strength for reps efforts taking us down clusterfuck alley where all of a sudden we're like half repping and we're like, yeah man, that's a PR. Because lifters will do that. They'll get the 180s out and they'll be like, touch the 180s for the first time. Like, you mean like physically you put your hand on it and touched it? Like, I don't know what that means. Which is why if I just put getting stronger for reps and I left it at that, it's a true statement by itself, but a lot of folks might misunderstand and not have the context of the technique first. The second thing is the stronger for reps and why that's important. Mm-hmm. There are at least two ways in which that is important. One is the idea that if what you are doing is working, which means your muscles are hypertrophying, they're growing, as the muscles expand in a cross-sectional area, which is what hypertrophy is, there should be some evidence of it occurring. And one of the very robust ways that which we know hypertrophy has occurred is if repetition strength has gone up. If your 1 rep max went up, definitely it's possible that you got size. But oftentimes you can just work on the neural characteristics of musculature, on technical characteristics, on architectural characteristics, and then you muscle and get bigger, but you got stronger. That's how come powerlifters are so much stronger than bodybuilders, even when they're the same size. Mm-hmm. So strength for reps particularly, there's just no way getting around it if you get stronger for reps over time. Yes, neural factors, architectural factors can help, but especially if you're training for hypertrophy and you've gotten stronger, it's probably not because of strength adaptations, but probably because the muscle is larger. There are definitely ways in which you can get stronger that the muscle doesn't get bigger, but if you're training for hypertrophy and you're getting stronger for reps over time, that's generally a really good corroborative sign. So that's one element. But another element is something that a lot of people don't say too often. And anytime you are trying to hit a good workout, you have a couple of things to contend with. And one of them is your relative effort. How hard are you trying in the gym? And you can tell yourself all sorts of stories and be quite delusional about your relative effort, especially over time. So even if you're training to failure, failure means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's really just when did you decide to quit? And you might be even feeling it's a hard set, you quit and whatever. And if you never look at the logbook and you never strive purposefully in a feed-forward pattern for more, you might not get very strong over time, and over many months of training, you could actually just be like trying a little less hard each time on average. And then it turns out you didn't make a whole lot of progress. That is the purpose of those forward-looking progressions. So yes, on the macro scale, strength should automatically come up and it's not something you have to worry about. If it doesn't come up, you might have to start worrying a little bit. But in the micro scale, literally microcycle to microcycle to microcycle, week to week to week, you should be endeavoring to hit little mini PRs so that you know that you have 99 problems, but training progressively hard is not one of them. And deluding yourself into thinking you're making a progression when you're not is definitely not one of them. If you experience a ton of happiness in a relationship, if you've got a great situation, just the beauty of the relationship is something that over the years you're like, we just have it good. But that doesn't mean you don't make any proactive steps in like thinking, what would my husband or wife like? Maybe I could plan a date for them they'd really like. Maybe I could buy them a massage. Maybe I could give them a cool gift for a birthday, take a cool trip. You still have to do some proactive stuff in a good relationship, even though it's all good. Because doing the proactive stuff is something that really ensures we're all good.
That feed-forward mechanism, are you thinking when you enter a session, hey, let me try and go for X number of reps, X plus 2, or let me lift a little bit more weight? How does that kind of look the way that you periodize it with clients?
what I have done, my number one client now is the RP Hypertrophy app, through whom I train,
Yep.
some number of tens of thousands of people. And there we actually have a distinct algorithm, which is top secret. But the algorithm is so magical that if you have a certain performance in 1 week, it predictably adds some number of reps and or load. It's a very small number. It just inches you up a little bit. If you're lifting around 150 pounds, that means it'll add like 5 pounds every week. Or if you're lifting with, let's say, 50-pound dumbbells, and it's like 50 to 55 is a big deal, like you don't go squatting 500 and then 550 the next week, it'll add 1 repetition at a time. So adding 2.5 to 5 pounds per session, or adding 1 repetition on average per session, seems like a really good approach for most people. How do we resolve the difference between beginners, intermediates, and advanced? Beginners may be able to go for 6 months without deloading, adding 5 pounds to every lift every fucking time. Intermediates might only be able to go 3 weeks and only sometimes add 5 pounds, but sometimes add nothing, sometimes add a rep, sometimes add nothing. And then advanced people might only be able to go 4 weeks of additions of reps and or load, and during contest prep, just hold the fort and just match the repetitions from last time. And so you get this like improvement curve that from beginner to intermediate advanced looks like this, but the formula at every stage is add a rep, add a little bit of weight, and see how long you can keep going. And mostly the thing that differentiates the levels of advancement is how many consistent weeks of progress can you make until you fail to make a PR and your fatigue is so high that you actually get weaker the next week. Then it's time to deload. So the deload frequency is the thing that determines most of the difference. And every time you deload, what you do is you go back to a weight, you do it for as many reps as gets you to about 3 reps in reserve-ish. You start from there, and the next week you go up and up and up and up and up, just like that.
The final question then, Mike. The variability we see in people that just focus upon hypertrophy when it comes to their strength outcomes, the numbers you're lifting, you should see a clear increase over time.
Totally.
Yeah.
And everyone's different.
Yep.
Some people are very large and not as strong as you would expect. Some people are very strong and not as large as you would expect. Like you look at, we actually had this for a thumbnail in a video a little while back, Dr. Deadlift, Taylor Wong.
Yep. Yeah.
He is way stronger than Jay Cutler in his prime.
Yep.
Jay Cutler in his prime is a fucking refrigerator. And you'd be like, who's stronger? Everyone would be like, Jay. You'd be like, wrong. Kaler is. You'd be like, sorry, what? And then Kaler pulls 900 for 3, and you're like, that's not an amount people should be able to lift. You'd be like, hey, Jay, do you want to pull 900? He'd be like, I'm sorry, what? Half of that, sure. And you're like, how? Well, it's almost exclusively genetics and training style. If we equated the training style, Kaler would still be stronger than Jay. He would be bigger. And if Jay trained for powerlifting, he would no doubt be much stronger, but not as strong as Kaler. There's just differences there genetically.
Yep.
So what's important for most of us to do, you just have to compare yourself to earlier versions of yourself and try to PR against those. But, there's a big but there, huge but. Just, you ever just see it, you're like, holy shit. And that but is, I would only recommend such progressions and comparisons to occur in the mesocycle scale and no bigger. Because like you say, well, I used to bench row 225 for reps 3 years ago. I should be able to bench row 245 for reps now. But is that really true? Maybe your technique is a lot better. One of the things that Jared and I do on the channel when we bring on pros to come train with us every Monday, we have a video that comes out as a training video. We take a lot of times pros, just IFB pros or competitive powerlifters, and we sharpen up their technique in one session so much that they opposite of PR. You come on our channel, you're almost certainly lifting way lighter than ever, but we fuck you up harder than you've ever been fucked up because of that technique improvement. Technique in hypertrophy training challenges the muscle so much that it doesn't allow you to show off your strength as much. It isolates the muscle, it puts into a mechanical disadvantage, so that the amount of weight you're lifting is less for your joints and shit like that and more for the muscles. I would be very interested in beating what I did last week up until I have to deload. Restarting that progression in the next week after deload, and then beating last week, then beating next week, then beating the week after, just by little tiny margins. You grow by getting a little bit better every week, and that's exactly what this progression scheme programs you for.
I do think you perfectly distilled it in that quote, which is why I wanted to talk about it. Man, where can people find you?
I usually am... I live in a psychiatric home.
Oh, okay, this is what this is. They let me in to interview you.
Aren't the orderlies the sweetest people?
They even are operating the camera. It's fantastic.
They're like, I got this.
Yeah, it's for his
Adobe
psyche.
Premiere? No worries.
Yeah, it's for his mental health. Like, it's important for
him. It's good for him to see other people. YouTube,
Yep.
Renaissance Periodization. If
Yep.
you can't spell that, and I sure shit can't, RP Strength.
Yep.
And you'll find your way to my ugly ass sooner or later.
Oh, Mike, always fantastic having you on the channel. The link will be down below. If you liked the video, make sure to like the damn video, and I'll see all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Peace.
Yeah, I use PEDs. PEDs? I got the hook up.
Introducing PEDs, Performance Enhancing Dinner. Rascal Jants, aka jeans made for lifting. You can squat in them, deadlift, and even practice karate. Jants so powerful, they should be illegal.
Before my Rascal Jants, I was a virgin. And now, I squat 405.
Rascal Jants come in 4 stylish colors: Pale Thunder, Blue Steel, Concrete Gray, and Midnight Magic.
My wife said it's me or the Jants. I hope she's doing well.
Wear them inside the gym or outside. Whatever your peach desires, Rascal Jants, because your booty deserves better.
Before my Rascal Jants, I was a virgin.